Do you ever pay attention to how the people you're close to smell, like their particular smells? I do. Hey, it's Poisson Variants, your VTuber Math Lover Gamer and Nonsense Enjoyer. And how is everybody doing today? I hope everyone has had a good day. My day was very boring. You constantly concern yourself with your smell. I do too. Byproduct of having OCD anxiety. But like, so like I always make sure to smell very nice. And like one of my coworkers once was like, something smells really good. And then I was like, I don't know. And they're like, is it you? Do you smell really good? I was like, well, this morning I washed my hair and I used face wash and I have moisturizer and different moisturizer on my hands, and I have like I have like deodorant on. I'm like, that's what it is. You smell really good. And I was like, thanks. No, it's like everyone has their own like particular smell. You can't tell if you're following the cat brand on purpose or not. No, this is something I've like done for years. Like one of my best friends, the smell I associate with him is kind of like an it's kind of like old leather, like old couch leather with a hint of like firewood is what he smells like. My partner once described me as smelling like a soapy watermelon with a hint of raisin. And I described them as smelling like like a birthday cake mixed with a hot interior of a Toyota Saturn. Yeah, I think that's Toyota. That might not be Toyota. Is that Toyota? I think Toyota. I don't really know cars. Toyota Saturn. Yes. The inside of a 2008 Toyota Saturn when it's hot, mixed with birthday cake smell. Everyone has their own scents. Because like we all use our, you know, own products, and we all have our own day-to-day lives that make us smell our own ways. Imagine we had an odor range like we do with colors. Ah yes, you smell like OXFF 3030 today. You can eat birthday cake anytime. Is it birthday cake at that point though, or is it just cake? And then again, we've kind of like labeled birthday cake as its own flavor. I don't know why. Like, you can get birthday cake flavored ice cream, and I don't really know what cements it as specifically like birthday cake flavored. Like, I get cake batter. It's just like very heavy batter flavor, but what's specifically birthday cake? Is there a bunch of like sprinkles? Sprinkles are something I'm never sure if I like. I notice as I've been getting older, like when the last time I went and got frozen yogurt, the last time I got frozen yogurt, I found out that I don't want sweet stuff as much in my ice cream. Like, I got the froyo, and then I loaded it with like peanuts and I think like pretzels. I don't know. I really liked it though. I'm preferring the salty over sweet in my old age. Even have proof it's not your birthday? We trust your parents and initially trust someone has been keeping track of the calendar since the start of time. Well, time is relative. We're specifically doing it in relation to our our orbit around the sun. So, I mean, you could go off the whole thing, time, made-up concept, yada yada yada, but I mean, you measure it somehow. Old age, so you have the Gen Alpha sense of age ranges. That's the joke is that it is not old age. The joke is just that tastes change. I don't know. Like, I'm gonna be 24 at the end of this month. I still can't even rent a car. If I can't rent a car, I don't think it's fair to call myself old. And I have an idea. Speaking of things at the end of the month, I have an idea what I'm gonna do for the anniversary stream, for the 1-year anniversary stream. I don't know for sure yet, but I have an idea. I have a thing I might do. Well, you should never be able to rent a car. That's just irresponsible. I have never been in a single driving accident. I've been driving since I was 16. I've been driving since I was 15 years old, and I have never once been in any driving accident. Never gotten a ticket. Never been a fender bender. Never been in a crash. Like, hell, I've only ever passed someone on the dotted yellow line twice in my life. I'm an excellent driver. I resist the compulsions very well, I think. Never pressed gas when you meant to press the brake? No, I have not. Because I know where my feet is. I have good I was gonna say, I guess it would be foot coordination. Yeah, I have good foot coordination. Now you're just like, I haven't. I'm a good driver. Everyone does that at least once. Then maybe my time has yet to come. Although I'm like, I have hand-foot coordination. No, because I'm not using my hand with my feet. Hey, Cheese, welcome. Good to see you. But it doesn't really pertain to my eyes. It's just like passively knowing where my feet are. So I think that would just be foot coordination. If you press the gas and brake at the same time, your car takes a screenshot. Yeah. And if you press them at the same time and pull the handbrake, you open the task manager. Trust me, it works. I may or may not have... I never fully did it, but I did figure out when I was driving once how to, like, the logistics behind getting my car to drift. Because it was like... I was alone at night, and I was like, I wonder. And I like had a bend coming up, and I was like, okay, if I speed up and I turn, I like yank her, and then in theory, if I I figured out how to do it. Would it actually work? I would be too much of a coward to find out if it would work. There's no way I'd ever try that. But I figured out the logistics behind it is the point, which is the math major way to do it. Just figure out the theory behind drifting, and then make a video that's like, could initial D really happen? That's not the point. It's never the point if it could happen. Fun fact, if you pull a handbrake on the highway, you trigger a loading screen and spawn in a cool place called a hospital. Whoa, really? Wow! That's the thing, where it's like, man, if I were to ever get in a car crash that bad, I hope that I would just not respawn. It's like, I don't want to live like that. I had a friend who was in a really bad car crash, and it took him years to get back the ability to move below, like, his neck. And so, like, I don't want that. If I get in a really bad car crash, I don't want to respawn from it. Fun fact, closing app normally on Linux does SIGTERM, which is essentially what Task Manager on Windows does. Does that mean that it like fully closes the application? Whereas if you do it with like window, like it ends the task, but like if you do it on Windows, it generally keeps something running in the background, which wouldn't surprise me. Not a car crash, but you scrape someone else's car in a highway and y'all have to sort it out now? Nah, just speed away. But I've never done that either. Yeah. My driving record has always been impeccable. I once drove back when I was in driver's ed. My brother drove to pick me up, and we had this van, this old Jeepy van that long since died and left for like however many years ago. But he went to pick me up in it, and then I was supposed to drive home, and he goes, "Yeah, the fuel light went on my way over, so today you're gonna learn how to coast home." And so I've never been scared when a fuel light comes on anymore because of that. I was just like, okay. Okay. You had a panic attack the first time your dad told you to get on the highway? The first time I went on the highway, I had never been on it, and I was with a driving instructor, and we were supposed to have practiced this already, and I didn't realize it, and he's like, all right, now head over here. All right, now get on the highway. And I was like, okay. And I just like shoot up to 67 or 65, and I'm just on the highway, and I'm just like, I have no idea what I'm doing, but cool. Linux also has SIGKILL in case that doesn't work out. The CPU to stop processing the code for that program, or less than dead the program becomes isn't. Ooh. I know. I'm starting to think that Linux might be good. One day I'm gonna pull the trigger on it. One day I'm gonna pull the trigger on it. I should just do it. I should just figure out how to run stuff through. So on a Mac, if you have an Intel chip, then you can pretty easily set up Linux. But I have an M series chip on my MacBook, and so it's a bit more difficult. So that's what stopped me from doing it on my laptop. Because if I did it anywhere, I want to do it on my laptop, because my laptop is where I would get any sort of like coding work done. So you also didn't learn to drive till you were 20. I wanted to learn to drive right away, so I learned when I was 15. And then I did my driver's test, and then on my 16th birthday, I went to the Department of Licensing, and I got my driver's license. Oh, it was fun. No. Although that that being said, I've never been in trouble for my driving, but I definitely have. When I had my permit, there were times where I drove even though I wasn't supposed to. Because we're like, hey, can you go to the store and get this? And I'm like, I need someone with me. No, you don't. Okay. You can't switch to Linux. You have a very personal relationship with the mega corporation Microsoft, and you can't betray the trust you have. I'm sure Billiam Gates would understand. I'm sure William. Why is Bill short for William? I don't get it. There's gotta be some reason, right? Like, why is Jack short for John? They're both one syllable. Why use Bill instead of Will? I don't know. Maybe someone was just one time was like, Will go down to the store, and they're like, that's stupid. And I'm like, you're stupid. And then yeah, that, yeah. Microsoft has their own Linux flavors if you want. Don't they have a WSL? It is. That's what it's called, right? WSL? Is that what I'm thinking of? Jack is short for John, in fact. Alright, I actually have Ubuntu. Man's never heard of Billiam and it shows. That's true. Well, have you ever heard of Bobbert? You literally Google it. You know, you're an adult, you can Google it. You will not fact check that. You'll just stay you'll just hold fast to this idea. Don't I have Ubuntu? Sorry, I'm trying to figure out how to set up. Maybe this is more like an emulator now. You're right. Alright. Great, I have Ubuntu running now. What do I do on Ubuntu? I don't know. Welcome to Ubuntu. Okay, I'm not showing that on screen because it literally just says my legal name. Well. Alright, what am I in right now? Can I switch over to that? No. That's what I meant. Honda and VSL. Invalid input beat? Alright. That's how we make music around here. What the hell is any of this? Oh, that's not my desktop. That's why it's running its own Linux desktop. So then do I have... Go into VS Code here, because I think I installed a VS Code distribution. Right, because then I can boot VS Code with a... Right. How do I do that? Run... Could have used Narch inside. This is just what I already had. Whatever. I don't know why I'm bothering with this. If you have Rust, you can cargo install Uwify. I do not have Rust. I've never played that game. Fine, I closed it. I don't know any of the specifics. So speaking of Rust, that's what we'll be doing on Wednesday. Let's... First, I want to decide on a good playlist to use for the textbook review. So, if I can find a reason to use Linux, that's the thing. I need to have a good reason to use it. I need to justify its existence, and then I will spend the time to use it. Like, there was one time I needed to run one library that someone had made, and then I used it to run that one library to perform one thing of analysis, and then I never needed it again. Alright, let's see. I didn't mean to click that, but okay, let's... Playlists... Oh, Lily's Live. I haven't listened to this one in a while. Okay, that's good. You don't really have a reason to learn how to install or use Linux. Exactly, it's like, if I did, I would, but I don't, so I won't. If I will, but I won't. but if I would, which I didn't, but if I did, which I didn't, and if I had, which I hadn't, then we'd be somewhere. But we're not somewhere. We're nowhere. Try racing. You just take Linux and customize it. There's also a website of Linux puzzle games called Over the Wire. Like Over the Hedge, starring someone? Use presenter view? No. All right. Y'all ready to talk about some textbooks? Because I think it's time to talk about some textbooks. If I remember what I'm doing. Ta-da! All right. Oh, wait, I should open. Okay, there we go. Now. Yay, textbooks. Legos, the fun part is building it. You say that, but then people will, like... People spend a lot of money on, like... Legos in general are too expensive. Down with Legos. Down with Legos. From now on, I'm just using plastic waffles. Same effect, same general shape. Maybe I shouldn't use this music because I vibe too hard to that. The fun part of computers playing video games. That's true. When James plays videos, that's when it's at its best. I'm vibing too much to this. I need something that's calmer. There we go. Okay. There are other fun parts of computers, though. I personally like programming. It's just like, God, I wish I had more excuses to do it. I mean, hey, that's why I'm doing the thing with Rust. So that I have an excuse to learn. Excuse me. And content is content. Alright. So, welcome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome, welcome. Oh, oh dear. There we go. Choosing an OS flowchart. It's just use Linux. I know, I want to see what this is do. Choosing an OS. You feared the Lord God Almighty. Yes. And Temple OS. Do you fear technology? Do you fear Hannah Montana Linux? Okay. That makes sense? Maybe? I don't know. I just realized, why is the name of this stream, or the name of the stream, it's labeled as a just chatting instead of as a math talk? I'll fix that in post. Alright. I need an introduction to this section. I don't know what to do. What should I say? Welcome all to Poisson invariance, or to reviewing, to math textbook reviews with your host, myself, Poisson invariance. Sorry, Poisson invaridace. Sorry, Poisson in voice. Poisson invariance. Me, mathtuber. Wait, but I already did my at the beginning of the stream. Yeah, fix it in post. Okay. my go-to excuse today. Today, we will be looking at math textbooks, specifically math textbooks that I've used, because it wouldn't make sense for me to review math textbooks that I haven't used. And it's not all textbooks that I've ever used, because there are ones I don't remember, of course. These are the ones that I remember, and the ones I cared about, I still have access to. So, let's start off with a few important footnotes. So before we start, textbooks, like, I'm sure you guys know this, but it's in the PowerPoint, so you're gonna have to deal with it. Okay? Okay. Textbooks are not like novels. Textbooks, you do not read cover to cover. I mean, you can, and I have, but I'll pretend that I haven't, and that I don't, and that I would, but I wouldn't, but if I did, and I didn't, but I don't, but I do, but I don't. So, they're not meant to be read cover to cover. They're meant to be used the same way an encyclopedia is. They're meant to be used as reference materials, and for the sake of understanding things. They're not exactly like encyclopedias, but I like to think of it as reference material. There are, so like, I can't quote verbatim from textbooks. Some people can. I have met people who can quote verbatim from textbooks. I don't know why. I don't know why you would bother doing that. But you, if you want, freaks. I'm out here insulting all chronic textbooks, textbook enjoyers. So, the other thing, or another thing, is that textbooks come in different writing styles. The base assumption is that most textbooks will be in the form of something that's like, goes 5 seconds without insulting your audience, please. No. Imagine being a programmer. So there are countless textbook styles. A lot of them, the traditional one we think of is written in a very kind of monotone way, where it's meant to be technical, it's meant to be direct, and it's meant to give you just raw information. This is this, this is this, this is this. I personally hate that style. It has its uses. If I want to check an exact definition, it has its uses. But there are tons of cases where, like, yeah, for tons of people, the information cannot be easily communicated through just the textbook itself. Another thing. These textbooks, so just about this presentation in general, these textbooks are pretty limited to math textbooks. Like, technically, there's overlay between math concepts and physics, and math and engineering, and math and chemistry, and math and biology, and math and finance, and math and accounting, and math and that person I hit with my car, but I had never gotten into a car accident, so you can't prove that that happened. But the thing is that the ones I'll be going over today are pretty limited to specifically math courses. Again, you can apply those concepts to other things, but don't expect a physics textbook in here. Although, funny enough, that being said, there are statistics textbooks in here, because that is considered a subset of math, even though it's really its own thing. And oftentimes you have, like, a college of math and science, or like a college of math and a college of statistics, or you have a college of mathematics and statistics, like, you even consider them to be two different things. That's why they're two different majors. Like, they're under listed as two different majors. You get a math degree, and then there's different versions of that. I have an applied math degree, or you can get a pure math degree, or you can get a data analytics degree, or you could get a optimization degree. And all those things are considered a math degree, and then on the other side of that, you could get a statistics degree. And that has its own variations, I'm sure. I don't really know where they are, because guess what? I didn't get one because I got a real degree. I can't stop insulting people. With that said, and taking advanced courses and all these different things, and actually what I said to the count in regards to the textbook styles, so I mislabeled these bullet points. Surprise, surprise. Teaching style is a major factor. You can have the most drab textbook in the world, but if you have a professor that can communicate that information in a beautiful way, in a fluent way, in an engaging way, then it doesn't matter. Because universally the content's going to be the same, and it's just the delivery system. And on the flip side, so like I've had that before, and on the flip side, I've also had instructors who are the most boring individuals in the world, who cannot teach an engaging class, who stats isn't a real degree person who reads stats textbooks for fun. Exactly, it's for fun, it's not for education. That's not true. There's just a common assumption that a stats bachelor's is not very difficult to get. It's like a business degree. Or communications? One of them. Either business or communications. There's one of them that's considered to be a fake degree. In reality, those types of degrees do have their specialties, and like, as funny as it is to make fun of to laugh at that sort of stuff, there is an application for them. And it's just whether or not people actually utilize the information that they're given, because it is all useful information, and a statistician has a very important place in careers, companies, research across the market, across the globe, across the whatever existence. But that's just vibe-based personality theory. Exactly. You just go with the flow. You're like, good enough. P-value 0.001. Other common is 0.005 and 0.001. Headers. But like I was saying, the instructor's teaching style, you can have the world's most boring instructor, but if the textbook communicates well, then oftentimes it can be better to pull from the textbook. What I find is generally the case is a mix between the two. Instructors will generally choose textbooks that they like, and because they like it, they understand it, and if, you know, not every instructing teaching style mixes with or melds with every student's way of learning, but the idea of if they're a big fan of the textbook, if they know the textbook that they're teaching from well, then they're able to communicate that, generally able to communicate that information effectively. And so then you have a mix of the two. You can have an average textbook with an instructor that knows it well. You can get good information out of it, because again, like I said, the information across the board is often kind of universal. Now, obviously that changes with additions as we learn more stuff, as we get more information, as we find new methods, because it's something that's always evolving. And you had a college professor teach with packets. Oh, I am so sorry. I am so sorry. That is... No, I could never support that, because I think interaction is a huge part, and I think something like one of my favorite teaching styles ever, and it worked really well for analysis, and it wouldn't necessarily work well for a lot of courses, is that my analysis professor prompted discussion. He would ask us questions, and then we would all answer pieces of the question. We would all work together to answer pieces of the question, because there wasn't a lot of us anyways. It was a small class, and we were in a way then, and everyone knew each other from the semester before, because it was all kind of, it wasn't necessarily in the same cohort, but it was, you took analysis 1 to analysis 2, so everyone in analysis 2 knew each other from analysis 1, and it worked really well. And then we would kind of discuss and understand the problems, ins and outs, so that if someone has a misconception, it's kind of shared with the whole class and it covers for everyone. We're not just answering questions and then handing it and they say right or wrong. Not effective, personally. Or like the discussion method I find effective, I don't find packets effective. Oh, the other thing, so editions change different amounts per textbooks. So like some textbooks, you will jump around pretty significantly. Either in the way the information is communicated, or the information like presented as in methods, or communicated as in language. And some that doesn't change at all between editions. Some between editions just like we moved around these chapters. That's it. Here in England, in order to have textbooks, you have lecture notes, which are structured much like a textbook, with structure to cover only the required material. You've said your one message this stream. Well, thanks for stopping by, 8-bit. I appreciate your contribution, because if anything, it gets me talking. Well, that's the thing, where it's like, again, if the way it's communicated is important, because the instructor's pulling it from somewhere. And oftentimes, I like having a textbook to supplement the lecture, because I want to pull on something that can augment what I'm being taught. And it's difficult, because again, the dynamic changes based off professor, based off textbook, based off environment, based off country, based off college, based off your learning style, based off their teaching style, based off your ability to hear, learn, see, think, and smell. But with that all out of the way, let us begin. I'm thinking about lettuce. You ever eat a whole head of cabbage? You know, it's really good. I don't know why I love it. Stale baguettes. I love stale baguettes. They're so good. I'm just thinking about the crunch. It's delicious. But I'm I know, important topics. Right. Do you smell textbooks, or is that just humans? I may or may not smell my books. The books have a special smell. A new book smells delicious. And I may or may not sniff my textbooks while I'm studying. You ever been sitting in a public library studying, and you're like reading a textbook, and then you just face plant into it and like do a deep inhale and then like stretch? And it's like, oh man, they must be breathing heavy. They must be studying really hard. They must be stretched. And I'm just like, this textbook smells so nice. Broccoli's underrated. Broccoli is delicious. I also love zucchini. Zucchini is so tasty. Man, what's really good is like a caprese. A caprese baguette, if it's well made. Delicious. True new book smell. All your homies love old book smell. Old book smell hits different too. Like at my college, we you know, like the stacks, those big rooms that were full of just like old books and whatnot. I would love to just go in those. It's funny because I would go in those sometimes on like finals week, so it was like midnight and everyone was gone, and I would just find random old books and just open them and read them and then maybe smell them. Zucchini is the devil's cucumber? You don't mean the devil's lettuce. My god. Is that what you call, like, an old pipe? A pipe is the devil's cucumber? I don't know. Okay. Let's actually get into this. So. Based on the smell of its oldness? That's true. So this is a pretty standard one. And I'm pretty sure the 8th edition is the current one. But, so this is the textbook that I used when I was going through grilled zucchini, it's different. Just saying. Like the right seasoning, bit of olive oil on it. Okay, I'm getting distracted. I'm just thinking about food now. I already ate dinner. I don't want to think about it. Anyways, so this is kind of the first textbook that I remember using, because up until I got into college, and even my like first few quarters in college when I was doing like because I was still in high school, and so I was doing pre-calculus and whatnot, like trig, and that was all fine. But we didn't really have textbooks. Calculus is kind of the first time I started using an actual math textbook. And this will always be like one of the most, what's the word I'm looking for? Like most full calc textbooks out there that I've ever seen, used, read. Because it covers kind of everything. Your basic functions, limits, derivatives, integrals, intro, like it has an intro to differential equations, which not all do. Including stuff like IVPs and whatnot, which I sometimes see professors, I would see professors like slide into Calc 2, which is interesting, but I get it. You know, polars, series, sequences, vectors, vector products, cross product, dot product, that sort of stuff. Vector fields for higher level calculus, and then multiple integrals. And there's more stuff included, but those are kind of just like a number of things that would be included in this textbook, and that's what I mean. It is full. It is very, very full. Which I appreciate. It is kind of a cover all bases for calculus. And I feel like, because we were talking, or like I was saying earlier, calculus is something, or you have these courses that are kind of across the board, very similar, and calculus is one of those. Now, not every calculus course will be taught the same, of course. Of course. But by and large, you cover very similar things. I was talking to my friend the other day about what she covered in her calculus courses. And it's very similar, if not exactly the same, to the order that I covered it in my calculus courses when I was going through school. Something I find, though, is... So I had an earlier edition of this. I don't remember the edition I had when I was going through calc, but I had an earlier edition of this same book. And comparing it to the current edition, the Calculus 2, I find to be much stronger in this earlier edition that I used. Can I say that for all earlier editions? No, but I put earlier editions because I don't remember the edition that I used. But something I specifically remember was that it was covering shell and disk methods, which have their places. And funny enough, that was something I was once bored. I was like, how do shell and disk methods work? Let's prove it with using multiple integrals. Because if you do that, if you just do double integrals, then you're able to actually, in my opinion, do it a bit easier than doing the shell and the disk. And whatever, shell and disk, I think yeah. No, washer, shell and washer disk. I don't know. The point is, I found that the newer versions of these textbooks don't... What's the official distinction between Calc 1 and Calc 2? Calc 1 tends to cover things like limits and derivatives, whereas Calc 2 introduces you really to integration and lots of applications of integration. So that's where you get stuff like Riemann sums. And I notice that not everyone does teach Riemann sums. That's another thing about Calc 2, is that it's kind of this fuzzy area where, because integrals exist, people sometimes just skip over stuff like Riemann sums and like Newton's method. Is that what I'm thinking of? The Newton's method, I'm thinking of something else. But and they just go straight to integrals. But that shoots you in the foot. That hurts you when you do something like analysis. If you do any higher level mathematics, then you need that intuition surrounding what an integral is, because also Riemann sums really help with the idea of what an integral is, because you're summing up all these rectangles underneath it. And so that's a really clear visual to go off of the simple geometry that everyone knows. Everyone knows what a rectangle is. One of the first things we need to learn is, you know, length times width equals the area of a rectangle. You combine all these areas, you just add stuff together. And you then can, like, get people into this idea of, well, now we then add them up together more and more and more. And that's also a great introduction into series and sequences, which is generally taught at the beginning of Calculus 3 courses. So, if you don't have the intuition that a Riemann sum gives you, that a Riemann sum really builds on, then it hurts you both in the following course and also later down the line in more advanced courses. And that's where I find that this calc textbook does fall off a bit in the later editions, is that it doesn't... There's certain aspects of the Calc 2 area that I don't think it cements very well compared to whatever edition I used. In other words, the one I used is better, and these new ones are worse, and you shouldn't change. You should only use the old things that you're comfortable with. No, I'm just kidding. And the other thing is that I found that the introduction to diffie-q in this new edition happens in a bit of a weird place. So like I was saying, introduction to stuff like IVPs and some other diffie-q concepts happens after integrals. And the reason for that is because you're dealing with... one of the things in diffie-q is you're dealing with antiderivatives, and you're dealing with derivatives, antiderivatives. And so to throw IVPs in there isn't crazy, but the thing is you don't tend to touch differential equations again. You don't really touch differential equations again until generally after Calc 3. And so shifting the order could be beneficial, but I understand its order in relation to the things that it's nearby, because in terms of concepts it's similar, just not terms of teaching style or teaching order. First, you've heard of Riemann sums not being taught. It's not so much that they're not taught, they're like mentioned. And so I guess, yeah, they're not really taught. They'll like be briefly explained, but people aren't given the chance, like students aren't given the chance always to build the intuition surrounding them. Because the big part of mathematics is intuitions. That's how proofs happen. Proofs don't happen unless you can have an intuitive mindset about the things you are learning. The only way you can actually make progress in those sorts of things. You have to be able to understand all the little pieces, because then that's how you be able to rewrite stuff. You know? That's why you can, with just 3 trig identities and the regular trig relations, you can create every other trig identity, and you don't have to remember them all. You just have to think, okay, what do each of these mean conceptually, and then apply your different rules. So it's, yeah. It's less about what the Riemann sum literally is, and just the things that the Riemann sum makes up. So it doesn't matter whether or not, like, the thought process. And I think this is the thing about teaching in general, is when you have something that's like calculus, that's technically on the more general scale of college math, you will get people who, professors, and oftentimes calculus courses are taught by like TAs and whatnot, who essentially phone it in. Not because they don't care, or maybe they don't care, but because they're following a kind of like pre-made curriculum for it. And so the importance of certain aspects might be glossed over, because as an engineer, because that's another thing where it's like, if you're an engineer, you might not need that same intuition. If you're an engineer, you're going to want the more vector-based intuition, so you might not get something really out of the integration as much, but the application of the integral will still be important, just not what it means on a function. And then finally to say about this book is, it's got about 1,000 pages. I think it has more than 1,000 pages. I don't remember exactly. Different editions add different amounts. So I think it's pretty solid. Like it's got a good heft. I think it's on the larger scale of average textbooks. But so it's got larger scale. It's got some good weight. But because of that, and because of its size, it can't really be swung through the air super well. And so I'd say it's powerful, but it's not the most effective. I'd say it's about a 7 out of 10 on the weaponizing scale. Now, sorry, my partner's just sending me Arknight stuff. So next is our first stats book. So, probability and statistics for engineering and the sciences. This book covers kind of the universal things you would think with a stats book. The kind of general ideas that we'd want to get across. Probability, distributions, normal. We tend to focus on normal distributions, but multiple different probability distributions are covered. Your hypothesis testing, null hypothesis, alternative hypothesis, usual stuff. And I don't have too much to say because, again, this one I kind of just like touched on, and I'm not a statistician. So this is the one that I have used, but I have not found it's very good to go back on. There have been times when I've wanted to review statistics, concepts, and definitions, and trying to go back on this one is not very effective. Because like I say right there, it's very text heavy. It has a lot of information, and it kind of throws the information at you as just raw text and raw definitions, that in such a way that, funny enough, those definitions are actually kind of lost in the text, lost in the sauce, as it were. It's just throwing so much blanket information at you that you're just like, okay, but what do I pull from this? I find that I have difficulty, and maybe this, and again, commenting about how each person is wired. So I find that actually extracting the information is more difficult. Does it still have like content that's worthwhile? Absolutely. The content's all there. It's just accessing it is a bit difficult. But then it has a plethora, because it's a larger textbook. It has a plethora of problems and exercises. And so that's the place that I think that I actually didn't put on here. It could really shine. If you need problems, this is a great textbook to pull problems from. Because it's going to be able to cover lots of different situations. And it's going to be able to, not test, what's the word? Evaluate you on the different aspects. And the other thing is that it does not really acknowledge the use of statistical software. Most modern statistics no one does it by hand. Like, sure, we do have Z tables and whatnot, but nobody does the calculations for those things by hand. Why? Because oftentimes the distributions we're pulling from are dozens or hundreds of thousands of samples. So no one can reasonably do that stuff by hand. And so this textbook is a bit behind times in that way, that it's trying to teach it on an academic perspective, trying to get it across academically, but it fails to understand that you're not going to be doing that in like it says, for the engineering and the sciences. If you're not actually utilizing softwares in your career, then you're not going to be utilizing them well at all. Hey, Zeno, welcome. Like, you're not going to get any work done. Go instead of a machine learning model, go do a machine learning model by hand. By rolling a dice to randomly choose different branches. Your old stats professor begs to differ. I think that's another trapped with the times kind of thing. Haven't done stats by hand since the school. Long live the computer. Exactly. Nobody does stats by hand because what doesn't make any sense to. It's about the larger scale acquisition of numerical information. So like that's the thing. It's less about the theory. It's more about the process, the results, and the data. Data, doida, strata, stratosphere, dragons. But machine learning by hand wraps around back to just being cool. I mean, sure, but it's not practical is the point. But yeah. Whereas doing an equation, certain things done by hand make sense because it's about understanding the theory, the concept, the application. Whereas doing certain things by hand would be pointless because it's just about the process, or the process is less important. Or the process is important, but it's the overarching process. You have to understand what the individual components of the process are doing, but the overall process itself can be automated with no detriment to the theory. This one is slightly bigger, or sorry, slightly smaller than our previous one, than our calc textbook. So, but it's also a bit heavier. So again, it's got some good weight. It's not as much weight though, but it's still about the same two-dimensional area for like the covers. So it's still got that same kind of problem where it's like, it's not fast. It's not aerodynamic. You try and hit someone with this textbook, it's not gonna end great. Not gonna do great for that. But staying on the idea of statistics, this book I've recommended before. It's fun. Hence the name. Bayesian Statistics the Fun Way. It's short. It's very short. It's like 16 chapters. It's paperback. And it just covers like Bayesian probability, A/B testing, and parameter estimation, hypothesis testing. I forgot to add on there. But this is also what I was talking about when it comes about to communicating the information in an engaging way. It is casual. It's someone meaning to write something for you to read. You're meant to read this whole book. This is a book you are meant to read through. It comes with plenty of examples. It comes with clear R code integration, and funny enough, at the end of the book, it actually explains how to set up our studio and whatnot for anyone who's unfamiliar with it. And so it gives you not only the information to perform these exact examples, not only the information to perform these processes, but the information to get the software. You don't have to look elsewhere. It's not just trying to give information, it's trying to actively allow people to utilize it. It's trying to pull someone in to a Bayesian statistical world in a fun way. Hence the name. but in a way that they'll not only be able to understand, but they'll be able to follow along utilizing modern applications. To remind R sucks, this book is garbage. Everyone hates R, but R for statistical software is incredibly useful. I've barely used it, but the times I have, it's been okay. Another thing is just personally, I found that the wording wasn't cringy. I didn't think the jokes were cringy, and the comedy wasn't like it wasn't like watching a Marvel movie. There wasn't just like stupid jokes thrown in everywhere. I found that the humor was placed well. I'm also someone who laughs at math jokes though, so maybe I'm not the best determination for your average reader, but also there's a fair chance that your average reader doesn't even touch this book. There's a fair chance that your average reader never opens this friggin' thing, because I found this thing in a bookstore, and I went, whoa, this is cool, and then I bought it. As previously mentioned though, something else I want to say. This one I would recommend over the previous one, because even if it provides less raw information, the information it provides, I think it is in a much more accessible form. Not to mention the acknowledgement that statistical analysis is done computationally. And then, like I said, this one's small, it's thin, it's paperback, it sucks as a weapon. This should really be a 1 out of 10. I said as a 2 out of 10. I was trying to be nice because I really liked the book, but this is a 1 out of 10. This is such a disappointment. You could throw it at someone, wouldn't matter. You can hit someone as hard as you can over the head with it, wouldn't matter. Like, and the pages, I think the pages are thick enough where you're not even gonna paper cut someone. It would be, it would be a challenge to hurt someone in literally any way with this book, in an effective form. They might be like, ow, but yeah, just garbage. Now, shifting gears. Really can't get personal feelings involved in the assessment of a weapon. Counterpoint, you're eating a $1 ice cream sandwich is better because it does not contain R. Yeah, I would probably be upset if a computer program were in my sandwich too. Ice cream or not. So shifting gears here, we're going to shift over to this book. An Introduction to Linear Programming and Game Theory. Something I forgot to mention here is that I want to address immediately. This book suffers, I think, in a similar way that the first stats book does. It can sometimes be a bit too text-heavy. It can sometimes throw information at you that it is hard to accurately extract from. It's easy to get lost in the text and just kind of like pull out the thing that you want. In cases, for specific definitions. However, in the terms of examples, it functions very well. Because an important part of linear programming is this kind of... in a similar fashion to how when you're initially learning linear algebra from an application standpoint, not necessarily the theory, you need to learn how to simplify a matrix. You need to learn how to do matrix multiplication. You need to learn how to do these things piece by piece, step by step. And this book is super effective in doing that when it comes to linear programming. That same sort of concept of going step by step through different methods, showing you exactly how each kind of like table would be drawn, how we're getting from point A to point B, how we're choosing different things. That is where this book shines. It covers multiple different things. If you haven't done any linear programming, that's fine. But they're very good, and they have their place, funny enough, in programming. And I utilized this book to actually, funny enough, do my capstone project in my bachelor's. This was the book that I used to assist me in that. My friend and I ended up, that was when we spent like 14-hour days, 10 days straight, just working on a single MATLAB project. It was awesome. I miss it so much. It was so much fun. I hate Panda Express and Subway as a result, because that's all that was there in the center to eat. But my God. Something so rewarding about just sitting there working all day on a project. When you're working with someone else, when you guys are just like sitting there, just tip-tap, typing away. Every day you meet up at 8 in the morning, you go to your morning classes, then you just... we had 2 to 3 back-to-back morning classes, then we immediately just headed over to the center, we sat down, we got lunch, and then we just typed. We just worked and worked and worked and worked and worked. Oh, Zeno, this isn't the last you've seen of MATLAB, trust me on that. But, so this is and I didn't really mention it here, because again, I kind of threw this together the other day. Personal favorite of mine, because of the place it has in my educational timeline, because I associate it with that memory of just kind of doubling down and working on it and making this big programming project, this big math project surrounding linear programming. Covers linear programs, the simplex method, duality, integer programming, things that are, funny enough, this is a great basis for an optimization degree. Because optimization is about stuff like that. Linear programming is the basis of is the basis of optimization. And so, well, technically not the basis. Haha, basis technically. Linear algebra is the basis, Heideggers. But yes, if you're ever in a place where lots of people have to take a linear programming course. If you ever don't have to take a linear programming course, like it's not forced to, but you're like, oh, I have an option to, I would highly recommend it. It is worth it. I find it very interesting. The minnow jokes are very funny. You should be a clown. I'm a VTuber. That already means I'm a clown. No self-respecting adult would be an anime person on the internet. And somewhere it does fall a bit short is that the visuals can be a bit confusing. But, or like, sorry, not confusing. The visuals are somewhat lacking. Because the other visuals, I don't know how to describe it. It's hard to do high-dimensional, it's hard to do high-dimensionality stuff with visuals in a way that someone can intuitively understand off the bat. And so having the high-dimensional visuals in an introduction can be difficult, but ultimately it's a small point on it, because I find that the examples are very effective for the application. You've been planning on taking one next year or something? Good. 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 I'm glad you plan on taking it, because it's very easy, I think, to skirt around something like this, or to just, like, take it and then throw it away. I wish I'd been able to take more optimization courses. They're very fun. And then finally on this one's good. So not only is this book on the thicker side, it's small. It's small and compact. So if you come at someone with this thing, and just, like, right up behind them super fast, wah, bah, in the back of the head, they're staggered. And then you can just go, bah, 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 bah. And so you can just, like, hit them over and over and over and over and over and over and over. And you're not going to tire out quickly, because you're not lugging around this big, slow textbook like that calc textbook. This thing you could hold in two hands, and it's like two-handing, like, a dagger in a video game. You're like, shing, 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 and just, like, slashing back and forth. Same sort of concept. So you can do some real damage with this sucker. You have one CS class left. Ooh, I only get to take 3 CS courses, which is funny considering what my degree was. In the beginning of college, you were like, yeah, I'll take so many cool courses. Now you're just like, I can take one class and do research the rest of the time. Oh, can I take one class and do research? Yeah, it's easy to get burnt out on it. I get that. But I find that it's like, if you connect with certain professors and have, like, other people in your cohort, then that can help lighten the load and feel a lot better. So this textbook is very fun. It's weird. This is a weird personal... Unfortunately, 2 minors and a chem major is not conducive to not taking many classes. Well, that's a choice you made then. But, okay, so this textbook is weird. But I love it. It's so weird, but I freaking love it. So, the first 3 chapters of this book have literally nothing to do with anything, with any analysis. Your analytical chem this year is hell, and your average in the midterm was like a 50? The average in the midterm? Dang. That is rough. Weird textbooks can be awesome. That's why I love this one. So the first few chapters have like nothing to do with analysis. They're just like about life. They're like life lessons. The guy who wrote it is an interesting guy who kind of rambles. But I love it. It has many, many hand-drawn visuals. And so they're easy to replicate if you want to kind of understand them or mess with them or morph them in your own way. That I appreciate. Having hand-drawn visuals, I don't know. There's something that's really nice about that to me, is the fact that talking about understanding things in higher dimensionality. If you can replicate a drawing, because this has plenty of higher dimensionality stuff, plenty of stuff in RN. If you can replicate that with a drawing, then it becomes a lot easier to understand, in my opinion. Oh, they're not curving at all, so the average is a failing grade. I feel like it says something if everybody had a hard time about is the assumption that everyone was lazy, or is the assumption that maybe it's not being taught correctly? And so with those, like, hand-drawn things, though, excuse me, a bunch of the examples and exercises have hand-drawn things to go along with them. Meaning that you can get really creative with them. You can get really creative in the way that you communicate with them. You can get really creative in the way that you want others to think about them. Because there may be, well, oftentimes there's half a dozen ways to solve an exercise, to prove something. Funny enough, actually, I have a video coming out on tomorrow that is about ODEs, and in it I end up simplifying one of the examples, utilizing the even and odd abilities of a sine and of sine and cosine, like their uneven properties, and that is not at all how the textbook that I was double checking my work against proved it, but it still worked. And so that same sort of idea of there are multiple ways to do something. And so this textbook on exercises will say stuff like, if you want an easier method, prove it this way. For a more challenging way, think about it in this way. And it won't just be like, start from here. It'll be like, think about this concept. Think about utilizing metric balls over the rationals or something. Think about this from a topological perspective. Your professor came and said, you're all dumb and use AI. What the a lecture after he defined wavelength by showing us a printout of a screenshot of Google AI asked for... Jesus Christ. This professor is awful. You should ask for a refund at this point. Seriously, not worth it. Not worth it at all. The midterm was nothing like you had learned in the lecture. Honestly, I don't know how it is there. I don't remember where exactly you are. But go to your department head. Go to your department head and lay out exactly all that. Go to your department head and clearly communicate the issues that you're having, the issues that other students are having, and what he has stated. If he said, I don't want to teach that, then please communicate that to your department head. Because even if someone's tenured for that, they'll do their best to switch around professors so that the professor will do the least amount of damage to students. That's what happened to me. The person who taught me upper level differential equations was moved the following, or 2 quarters later, 2 semesters? Yeah, we were semester school. 2 semesters later, to a different class that they would be able to negatively affect the students less with. Because there are other people who took the same course, that same upper level Diffie-Q course that I did with different professors, and they had they had knowledge and information and applications that I never saw once. The departments made some stupid deal with them. It's still worth your TA has fought valiantly for us for little avail. Instead of the TA, I'm saying you should go to the department head directly. Like, go to the dean. Go to the dean of the department and lay out exactly what these issues are. Don't back down about this, because you're paying money. You're paying money, and communicate not just how you're doing, communicate how your cohort is doing, how your class is doing. Because you're paying money, you're going there for an education, and you are not receiving that education. College isn't something that should be phoned in, not by a professor. It doesn't matter if you're tenured. If you're tenured and you don't want to be there, well then you should you should focus on research. You should put in the effort, and that's why I find tenuring people is such an interesting concept. Because I get people get burnt out, but I also don't understand how you as a professor are not willing to put in the effort for your students. I find that appalling. Back to this though. Something else that's interesting about this is that this textbook, and this again about the guy who wrote it, it's kind of a factor, is it's kind of all over the place. It jumps around. It has exercises that are like, there are exercises that in earlier chapters that say utilize these as Lipschitz continuous functions. Thanks for the advice and pep talk. Of course. Listen, I just want to see you succeed. I want to see any student succeed. If you're putting in the effort, then you deserve respect. Because you are giving respect by putting in the effort in that course, and you are not getting it back. It's better than not telling anyone about it too. Exactly. But anyways, the textbook has you utilize something like, assume that this function is Lipschitz continuous. In chapter, I think in like chapter 7 or 8. But then if you actually want to get a definition for Lipschitz continuous or Lipschitz continuous, you have to hop forward to like chapter 13. Because this guy totally just wrote it as it came to him. As it came to him, he was just like, let's throw this in here, let's throw this in here, let's throw this in here, let's throw this in here. The different chapters are related to different things, but the way the chapters are ordered, I don't think he put much thought. Or like the way he did it, I it's interesting. Finally, as much as I love this textbook, and I mean love this textbook, I've gone back to it so many times, I love it to death. It is only digital. It is only in a digital copy. It is a terrible weapon. You can't hit someone with this. You would have to hit them with your whole laptop. You would have to hit them with your iPad, with your monitor, with your phone. You'd have to hit them with some sort of electronic device. And I'm just not willing to make that sacrifice. If I'm in a fight, I'll get beat up, but I won't sacrifice my monitor here. It's too precious to me. I've never been someone to break things when I rage in games, because I don't really rage in games. But if I were to rage in games, I would never break any of my devices. They cost so much money. And they're more important to me than if I had kids, I would use the child as a weapon instead of my electronics. Are there any services to get a hard book print? Well, the thing is, it's also free. He wrote it, and then he put it up for free. So there's and he's updated it. He's had proofreaders, and he's trying. I don't know if he ever did, release a like an official version, but he has it published, or like has a level of copyright and like publication on it. But yeah, he was like, he wanted it out there for free. And if, yeah, and shouldn't it be a 10 because you're throwing your PC tower at someone? It's a 0 because I'm not willing to throw my PC tower at someone. Alright, so I had said that I'm talking way more than I've talked in a while. Sorry. If I have it on a PC that's no longer of use and I can throw that tower, like a ceremonial weapon, exactly. I'm willing to utilize that as a weapon. But the textbook on its own, I'm not willing to utilize as a weapon. So here is another very beefy textbook. So much so that if you have it on a Google Drive, like I do, it is a pain to even get it to load. Like those 8-foot Hungarian greatswords that aren't used in combat. I mean, there's also like the 6-foot greatswords that you do like be able to swing once and then you just get impaled by the enemy. You swing once. If you didn't kill them, you're dead. If you did kill them, you raise it, you swing it again. And you just do that, walking forward into the enemy front line until either you're dead or the enemy's dead. Now that's some warfare tactics I can get behind. And funny enough, this textbook might be the one for exactly that strategy. This is Advanced Engineering Mathematics. I'd said at the start that we wouldn't necessarily cover anything engineering or physics. However, like I said, also, there's crossover. There's pretty significant crossover. Acutely inserts malware into the textbook ebook file to make it a weapon. Shh, you're spoiling my jokes for later. I have more digital textbooks and I plan to use those jokes. So shut up. Right, Zeno. Shoot. This book is awesome for one reason. Or for a few reasons. So it is jam-packed with stuff. The first 6 chapters are just about ODEs. The next 6 chapters are just about PDEs. The next 6 chapters are just about linear algebra. The next 6 chapters are just about this. The next 6, and there's like a ton of chapters. It's packed. This sucker can hold so much freaking math in it. And so it's very, very nice. It's very nice. It is filled to the brim, and if you need a reference on a specific thing, it's great. You can hop to it. I only use this one a bit. I only really use this one for ODEs and PDEs. I have gone back to it for other stuff, though. And I flipped through it and I'm like, holy, this is a great linear algebra for applications of linear algebra. Not so much the theory, but the application. But again, it's like 6 chapters on just linear algebra concepts in the middle of this textbook. And that I can appreciate. Is an actual linear algebra textbook more effective? Yes. But this is a great resource, and that's why I think it's a great engineering resource, because you're not necessarily going to need all the theory. But to have access to that stuff, very important. Another thing... Alright. Another thing that I really like about it is the fact that it has proofs that it wants you to finish. It has proofs that it wants you to set up, and this is actually the textbook that I was checking my work against for my ODE video, where it has proofs that set it up in a way where you can take it in multiple directions. It's set up with enough information that taking it in multiple directions is not difficult. And it has plenty of real-world examples. That I also appreciate. It has lots of examples, in fact. It has a great number of examples in general, and the real-world examples, I think, are where it kind of shines because it's an engineering textbook. If I'm an engineer, I want my examples to not just be numerical or not have theory. If I were, but I'm not. But if I was, which I amn't, but if I am, then I would want to be able to utilize those. So, very positive on this one, even though this was this one was given to me, or like taught to me by the professor who I was telling you about just a minute ago, who phoned in everything. But the textbook itself, beautiful. So like, I would find myself going to the textbook on its own, because my professor God, that he would spend literally all course or like all of class just doing examples of different ODEs with like barely any explanation. But I would go to the textbook and then I'd be able to work with it. So the textbook saved me. It did. I got a straight A in that course. There was actually a final project. So there was a final project that we had the option to do. And he said, if you have an A already, or if you're above a certain percentage, don't do the project. If you have above a certain grade, I won't even look at it. I won't even grade it. I won't even pay attention if you turn in. So I didn't end up having to do that project, but actually saved my time because I could spend all that time studying for my other finals. I could spend time studying for my linear algebra course, which was more difficult. But yeah, I got a perfect score in that class, and this textbook is what saved me in that class with the world's worst teacher. The entire department, when I left, was not a fan of that professor. Students or faculty. He's the one who also said, nah, I don't really like math. It's like, bro, I got math. I do math as a job because it's easy. He literally said, like differential equations. It's all been proven. It's all been done. I do math as a job because it's easy. I don't really like math though. I like drawing. I like writing. I like driving my car. I don't really like math, though. I just do it because it's easy. Bro, why are you teaching a math course then? Go drive your car, draw pictures, and write a book in your free time, and please leave the teaching to someone who actually gives a shit. As you can tell, I'm still salty about it. You know, 2.5 years later. Your final project for your chem class is to analyze the phosphorus content in lake water, except everything in the lab is contained with phosphorus because people are idiots. Oh boy, so there's guaranteed phosphorus everywhere. Yeah, just drive your car in circles or whatever you car people do. Exactly. I'm not a car person. Whatever car people do, go do that. Like, if circles is too close to math. But I mean, it's just, I don't know. It's very irritating to have someone who's not... I shouldn't... I shouldn't spend that much energy complaining about this guy. Although I have a funny screenshot somewhere that I'm not going to show because it shows, like, names. But I sent him an email once. I was like, hey, could I get an extension on... No, it was an extension? Right, because he said, if you ever need an extension on something, just send me a message and I'll give it to you. And so I was like, hey, we have a lot of stuff in my like linear algebra course. Do you mind if I get just an extension by like 2 days on this project? And I was very professional. I was very courteous because I always am in my emails. I can't believe that people nowadays don't know how to write emails. They literally have to ask ChatGPT to write emails for them. Like, what the fuck? But I was very courteous. I was very professional. And he literally just responds with K. Just like K and a period. I'm just like, man, you are not Professor Energy. You're saying just wanting money, but it feels depressing to be around people that do their thing with no remote interest. But also, it's like, he's not teaching well. He's actively a detriment in the same way that Zeno's professor is actively a detriment to the students who are paying. This man is getting money. This man has a job because people are willing to come to the school he works at and pay tens of thousands of dollars to have an education. And his lazy self is phoning it in. Irritating, to say the least. To say the most is... But We don't say that. We don't swear here. Like the opportunity cost, it could be so much better to have someone who actually cares in that position. Exactly. If you had someone who gave a crap, they would be able to help so many other people grow into better engineers, mathematicians, professors, whatever. Physicists, architects, any of that. Finally, though, about this textbook. I know, I'm a fan of this one. I'm a fan of a lot of textbooks. I like textbooks. I'm a loser. Anime boy, math lover, you know, VTuber, math lover, gamer, nonsense enjoyer, and loser. And nihilist, because yeah, self-deprecating. The world is depressing. No. I laugh at it. I don't have a depressing outlook. Oh, but so this textbook is the biggest one that we have. The biggest one that we have in our selection today at this juncture. 1,600 plus pages. And that means it's a big freaking book. I have a digital copy, and like I said, it has trouble booting up from Google Drive, so you have to boot it up outside of Google Drive with like Drive Desktop to then get it to load as a PDF. Which is lucky that I had that because I save stuff locally to my drive all the time. And so it's big. I denote this one as the only bruiser class textbook on our list. This is the textbook that is the 6-foot greatsword. You get one swing. You get one swing of this. You're charging forward. You're a math major. You're actively in brutal warfare with the engineering department. You charge forward. You raise this sucker, and you just bring it down in one fell swoop. If it hits them on the head, they go down. And you just swing it back around, lift your arms, step over them, and go for the next person. If you miss, you're dead. But if you don't miss, they're dead. What did I have next? This one. This one's fun. This book I read the summer after I graduated in college. I didn't want to be rusty, so I said, let's go through a linear algebra textbook. The comrade and nerd fight against the engineers. Exactly. The engineering department is always too large. We need to unite against the engineer. This book is old. The only plus side really to this book is that it has a very full list of mathematical symbols. Because offhand, you learn what a lot of stuff is. Like the for all symbol, the implies symbol, the there exists symbol, if and only if, that sort of stuff. If nothing else matters, I may as well be good and happy. Nihilists hate this one. You got different scene I was drinking. Yes, here it is. This is in-ear algebra. I love that, in-ear algebra. And in this book, so like I said, it has a full index of that, of symbology. Some not used anymore because it's older, like used very infrequently. I won't say not used anymore, but used very infrequently because this is an older book. And I don't think there is a single visual. Algebra ASMR win! Welcome to Eigenvalues. Eigenvalues with a cat boy
here to talk about your algebra.
I don't think there's a single visual in this textbook. Like, I read this thing cover to cover. I don't know why I read it cover to cover, but I did. And I don't remember a single visual. The wording is what I said at the start. It is so flat. It is so nothing. It is not engaging. It's not communicative. It is just flat definitions. But even then, those definitions suck. Those definitions are awful. They don't show clear examples. They don't show clear ways to apply it. It just tells you facts, definitions, and theorems and expects you to be able to do anything with it. There's no communication of the information. It's just the information. It's like reading a dictionary, but even a dictionary is in the language you speak by and large. Not always, but sometimes. And if it is, then you'll be able to understand because you understand all the smaller pieces. This doesn't even give you that. It sucks. This is just, unironically, kind of just a bad textbook. You're starting an ASMR channel? I'm not.
I don't know what the other letters in ASMR stand for, but I know that the M stands for math. A super math relaxing voice video. Does that sound good to you? Sounds good to me.
A in ASMR stands for algebra. You really want to give Poisson a copy of your old microbiome textbook? He's gonna hate it. Oh, I'm sure I would. I hate that. If it's written like this, I will absolutely hate it. Clipping the second fall asleep.
Good night, Zeno. Good night, my little chemist. I hope you sleep well. Get all tucked in, nice and warm. Have a good night.
Oh, Jen, I got you, don't worry. Jen, wake up! 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 Okay. The last thing that this textbook is you're not going to find a hard copy. In theory, you can, probably in a library. But if it's old enough, then no one's going to have it. I don't know why anyone would bother ordering this for a library. This thing sucks. So I like to declare this to be, I like to refer to this as an SSR. You can see at the bottom of the screen, a super rare. It is not good. It may be uncommon, but it's bad. Its stats are awful. You should not gotcha for this in-ear algebra book, because your ears will bleed. I don't know why I put this one not with the other analysis one. But this one. I know, Makio, I'm just gonna follow this. What's an alternative knowledge book? Knowledge book? Whatever that is. Knowledge. I don't actually remember the one I used. The one I'm going through right now is okay. 1 second. The one I'm going through right now is okay. It's not in here, but it's by Stephen Roman. It's by Stephen Roman. It's called Graduate Text in Mathematics, Advanced Linear Algebra, or I think it's from a series. Oops, it's from a series called Graduate Text in Mathematics by Stephen Roman, and it's the 3rd edition, Advanced Linear Algebra. I think it's okay. It's kind of got a similar problem of it throws a lot at you, and the way it communicates it isn't great. I'd say the way it communicates it is better, but its wording is very flat, and I don't appreciate that. But I will say it has a lot of information. It's a plethora of definitions, and I would say the definitions themselves have been very strong so far. I've been going through it. I'm only about 120 pages in, but I find it very nice. And again, it's designed how a textbook, I feel, is often used. It's designed around the fact that it's meant to be pulled from. It's not necessarily meant to be written or read as a novel. Which means I'm, of course, reading it like a novel. No, I'm just going through and I'm taking notes and whatnot, because that's what I do with textbooks in my free time. I just like go through, try and understand all the pieces, try out some of the proofs, try out some of the exercises, so I can get an understanding of stuff that I may not remember, or stuff that I've never seen before, even. Because there will always be things in courses that weren't covered in courses that are in the text and are in the concepts that you just couldn't get to, or the professor didn't find important, or maybe just is only important in something specific. For example, if you're trying to learn something for pure math, I'm sure there are plenty of concepts in linear algebra that are only useful in pure math, or more frequently useful in pure math, that are not as useful in anything applied. I think you'll see that a lot in abstract algebra. It's abstract, and guess what? We live in a pretty physical world, last I checked. Let me pinch myself. Yep, I'm probably real. Now, this one's good. This one's good. This is Spaces, an introduction to real analysis by Tom Lindstrom. This book, it's a lot of topics at an entry level. This is what I think an introduction to a concept should really strive to be like. It starts off in ways that, like you're starting off. It starts off really simple with just reviewing what proofs are. It gives you that kind of running start. It lets you know what proofs are, and then we shift forward. We go forward. We enter vectors into metric spaces. The proving calculus. These concepts that are kind of a basis to a lot of what mathematics is. An analysis in that way is, you can view it as the analysis of math itself. And so this book, I think, is like a kind of perfect baseline for the rest of what math is. So this one, I think, is beautifully written. I find it very friendly, not only as an introduction to analysis, but as an introduction to maybe even proofwriting. The first whole chapter, if I remember correctly, is entirely just about proofwriting and just about proofs as a concept. Beautiful. This, I don't know. And this was highly recommended by one of my favorite professors, which is what prompted me to read it. After I graduated, I grabbed it and I read it, and I loved it. I loved it. And so if you ever want to read an analysis textbook that doesn't get crazy, because there is analysis textbooks that get crazy. If you want something that doesn't get crazy, pick up Spaces by Lindstrom. I'm pretty sure it's free online. Physical copies exist, but I'm almost positive that this is free online, provided by the author. And amazing. As a textbook, one of my favorites. This is the joke that Zeno spoiled earlier. It exists digitally, which means pump that sucker full of malware, send it to someone's computer, and then watch their computer explode. Digital warfare usage only. I don't actually know if a physical copy even exists. One probably does, but its application in digital warfare, that's where it shines. because you can get it for free, modify the PDF like Zeno had suggested, and Jen had suggested, and then you just throw that sucker. You just start emailing that sucker to everyone, and then boom, computer explodes, bloatware, malware, hardware, deadware. Boom. I don't really have a lot to say on this one, honestly. Besides, it's always easier to say more things about it when you're complaining about it. But I think Zeno was the one who said malware. If you have a printer, you can become a physical copy. That's a good point. A good point, Danny. Anything can be a physical copy if you're brave enough to. Like we talked about earlier, hitting people with your PC tower. But I don't really have much to say about this beyond the fact that I love it. It's great. This one is another personal favorite. This... You're lying asleep next to a sidewalk. You have no idea why. You must have passed out or something. Yeah, I don't know what happened. Who could have figured that out? If you become a cybersecurity professor, you know exactly what you're doing. Purchase 300 iPads and display one page on each and staple them together. I like this. I like this approach. That's a really good idea. That's a really, really good idea. That's a solid idea. It's a stupid idea, but I will. I'll support your endeavors this one time. So here we have Numerical Analysis, Mathematics of Scientific Computing by David Kincaid. And this is one of our final textbooks that I'm going to be talking about. This one is another personal favorite. The reason it's a personal favorite is because, for one, introduced me to a professor, sweetest man in the world, who I love to death. Super cool work. I got to see he's always really, there's so much I want to say about him. I love that man. But one of my personal favorites. Oh my god. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful textbook. And it is a very strong introduction, as it says, to numerical. My introduction to MATLAB, and it's so much fun theory and stuff to play with. And it's not afraid like Spaces is, like this previous one. It goes back to basics when it needs to. The blood cancer research professor? No, he wasn't a professor, he was a mentor. He wasn't actually at that school. I left when I left school. I went and I interned under that guy. This is just another super sweet man. I've known a lot of very sweet and a lot of very smart professors, and I'm very fortunate in that regard. But this is not afraid to go back to basics. It goes and it redefines what a limit is. It redefines what a limit is in the way that you learn in Calculus 1. It's not afraid to go back to the basics and again give you that running start. And that running start is so useful because it says, what's a limit? How do we understand Newton's method? How do we understand these? Let's take it further. Let's take it further. Let's go into a software application. Let's utilize MATLAB. Let's utilize scientific computing. Our statistics are the first statistics textbook we looked at the very beginning did not do that. But this, again, just does it. It acknowledges the fact that the world is a technical place now. The world is a computational place now. Mathematics, engineering, physics, chemistry, biology, research, it's all computational now. So it runs with that. Yes, you need your theory. Yes, it touches it, and it utilizes this analysis in a cool way because it also jumps off into optimization, which I was talking about earlier. So that's another reason it's a personal favorite of mine, because optimization is so cool. And getting to see the application of numerical analysis on top of the application analysis, or the optimization analysis and whatnot. Personal, for me, perfection in a bottle. but it's not in a bottle. It's a book. And that's honestly what, like, this, out of all of the ones I have shown, numerical analysis and spaces are my absolute favorites. That's why we have a finale on them. We finish on these ones because they're perfection in my mind. They're not perfection, they're not perfect, but they're my personal favorites. And with that said, who doesn't love numbers? Numbers are the most powerful weapon in the world. So I rate this textbook numerical out of 10. What does that actually mean? It doesn't matter. You can do that numerical analysis yourself, and you can figure out what it means. You can understand with this textbook just how powerful this textbook is, how powerful this information is, how powerful you can be when utilizing this as a weapon. Because numbers are the basis to existence. Numbers are the basis to reality. Numbers are the basis to bases. Numbers are based. But we actually have one more textbook right after this, and that's not even a math one, it's a Python crash course. So funny enough about this one, this is an honorable mention. This one doesn't actually matter, but I'm going to mention it anyways. So what it was is I had just gotten out of graduate, I had my bachelor's. I touched Python when I was in high school. I never touched it after the fact. So what I had done is I had touched it, was coming back to it, and I was like, Python's easy, it's accessible. My friend gave me this. Gave me this, and I went, oh, that's neat. And I went ahead and went through it. Went through it like that, and I realized I remember most of this stuff. So it refreshed me. I say it taught me, but it really refreshed me on the basics of Python. It taught me a few different things. It taught me how to utilize things like zip function. It taught me how to use different pieces that I don't remember off the top of my head, but it was helpful. It's useful. Is it life-changing? Is it amazing? Do I have a passionate speech about it? Nah, it's cool. I like it. That's it. There's a part at the end about making a game program. I didn't do it. If I did, which I didn't, but if I had, which I hadn't, and if I was, which I wasn't, but if I were, which I weren't, if I dead, which I didn't, but it could have been useful. But I have no interest, which I interested in. And frankly, snakes are scary, which means it earns an Animal Kingdom variable out of 10. So, you know, throw a snake at them. Have a snake fight for you. Way simpler. Don't even bother fighting with a 6-foot claymore. Beat them to death with an animal. An animal that apparently is on a jet engine. I don't know why. I liked it. Is this by the same guy? Hold on a minute. No, it's not. So, the important takeaway from this... The most important takeaway from this is that all textbooks can be weapons. Under the right conditions, under the right bad day, in the right hands, any textbook can be weaponized for many nefarious or just justified non-nefarious purposes. The power is in your hands. Fun fact, utilize these textbooks for good or evil, but probably for evil. It would be a lot funny if it was for evil. But you didn't hear it from me. But it would be funnier. And I don't remember what my next slide says. Oh, yeah. Try all kinds of textbooks for good variety. Yes, we can have textbooks we love. I just went on a long rant about how much I love 2 different textbooks. But I read more. I found information, but I chose to read more, and instead of just rereading ones that I read before, so I can get a new perspective. Because at the end of the day, like I said at the start, writing styles, additions, teaching styles, ways we interpret information. That's all translated and presented in countless different ways. So just try everything. Read a textbook about something you know nothing about. I have a textbook on... I have a textbook on electromagnetism. I don't work in electromagnetism at all, but it taught me what the Maxwell equations are. Do I have any actual application for them? No. But that information itself I find valuable. Don't worry, you have like 5 nuclear textbooks. Or engineering textbooks, they're not being used for good. Good. I'm glad they're not. It's good they're not being used for good. That makes me happy. Have some passive radiation in your room at all times. I do. It's called a phone. With that said, though, all textbooks are good textbooks. That's not true. But all textbooks are worth trying, I find. Now get out. Serious. Get out. Now. Just leave. Leave. I'm serious. I'm dead serious. Get out of my freaking face! No, I'm just kidding. Okay, and that's all I had. Tell the judge that you're just a silly little guyish girl hybrid. Your Honor, in my defense, the gender fluid made me do it. In my defense, it was the gen... Can I do more ASMR? I didn't do any ASMR. I don't know what you're talking about. Someone did ASMR? What a weirdo. I don't want to be weird, but yeah, can you do more? Like, should I be glad that you guys are appreciative of it? Or should I be uncomfortable? And now I can switch back to the Miku music. Genuinely a really good voice for ASMR.
Do I try my best? I really try my best to sound beautiful.
I know. You guys are gonna trick me into become an ASMR channel now. ASMR has connotations in certain content.
I don't know what you mean. I'm just here to help you get a good grade. I just want to make sure you study. You know, help you stay up late, learning as much as you can.
But I digress. I haven't really done voice. Yeah, I haven't really done voice training either. It is hard. Well, the thing is, it like hurts your voice. So like, all of my quote-unquote voice training is literally just from streaming. Catboy vtuber was studying but accidentally overdoses on Fen. That's awesome. Oh, let me. I don't know. I don't know. I'd have to do like a sound like just like falling and slumping on the floor, just grung. All right. Yeah, you can use your one-time wish from Poisson. You wake up for nothing to request a. Well, that's your choice. It's either an ASMR content or I play Undertale. You get one or the other. You don't get both. That's your choice, Jay. Yeah, I said I'd be willing to play Undertale or something, but yeah, that's the you get one free wish. There you go. You get one free wish for having to wake up at 2 a.m. for a canceled stream. That's 2 different wishes. Your wish is to play Undertale and not joke about it being bad. That's 2 different things. I can either play Undertale or I can not joke about it being bad. Greg cracked when I was explaining to my friend about a Catboy fanboy VTuber, and he was like, "Will you ever be done?" I was like, "No, because I hate my voice," and proceeded to describe voice dysphoria. I was like, wait. Your life got a lot more complicated. I've come to be more comfortable with who I am in that regard. I would say not to get too detailed. I am comfortable with the general aspect of my biology. That's what I would say. I am comfortable with the general aspect of my biology, and then there are certain specifics about myself that I am not a fan of. Hence why I talk like this, and I don't really talk like this. Like in theory, I could do streaming entirely with this. I'm not even trans, I just hate gender stereotypic role aesthetic stuff. Exactly. Like, hasn't this broken a little bit of the immersion? I'm sorry for bursting the bubble. Guys, I have to be honest with you. I wasn't a real cat the whole time. I'm a real human behind this. I'm very sorry to disappoint all of you. Wasn't this voice that just made me think of someone that just spoke things like stuff that's very clearly says. What? 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 What did you just say? What? 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 You're not thinking straight. What? I guess. So like, I'm not getting over that. I really hope that's a joke. I really hope that's a joke. But I mean, that's the risk I took when I started being a VTuber. That's the risk I took when I started being a VTuber, I guess. And because there are 2 possible outcomes, that joke, and one of them is being perma-banned. This is the same person. Jay, you were complaining in chat about me making a joke about people making a bodily fluid pact. And then you say this shit. And then you say this shit. Welcome to the internet. I don't want to be on the internet anymore. I don't want to be on the internet. Alright, this is gonna be my defense mechanism now. This is my defense mechanism now then to protect myself from Jay. I have to drop into this. I'm sorry. Who thinks it's a good time to end stream now? You. I would feel a lot safer if I hit the end broadcast button on OBS right away. And then lock my doors. You were introduced to the internet during COVID? That's dangerous. That's when the internet was at its craziest. That's not true. The internet was at its craziest in the early 2000s. Filthy Frank existed. What's making you feel unsafe? Nothing at all. But yeah. I'm vibing. I have an appointment tomorrow morning. I'm getting a haircut. I'm finally gonna reduce my I have longer hair right now. I'm finally gonna get that cut down. Make it short and fluffy. I might dye it too. I don't know what color I dye it, but I might dye it again. Because I dyed it black years ago, but I kind of want to dye it again. Yeah. But Jay, I promise, at some point I will play Undertale, and I will give my genuine opinions on it. I say the Undertale stuff to rage bait, but I'm sure it's a good game. But it's not. But if it were, which it isn't, but if it was, which it wasn't, then I would play it, which I won't. But if I did, which I didn't, then I would, which again, wouldn't. Anyways, I have been Poisson and very into your VTuber, math lover, gamer, and nonsense enjoyer. And I will see you all on Wednesday for Rust Learning Stream. Fun, and hopefully it will get done because I don't want to miss that stream. I'll get home from work as fast as can be so then I can program with you, and it's what I want to do. No, I just like freestyling even though I'm bad at it. Anyways, I've been Poisson, very into VTuber, math lover, gamer, and that's it. I'll see you all next time, and thanks for watching, and bye-bye!